Welcome in to Greenville Grit, Greenville residents in touch on 103.7 WTIB. This is the local show that keeps you connected and in touch with the issues that affect what's happening in your community. Greenville Grit is sponsored by Ribeyes, Kid Construction, and Greenville Toyota. Now, here are your hosts for Greenville Grit, Terry Williams and Michael Overton.
Good evening and welcome to Greenville Grit. I'm Terry Williams.
And I'm Michael Overton. Terry, good to see you
to
this
see you,
nice
Michael.
spring day with the green everywhere. Not
the
literally
pollen
the trees,
everywhere.
the green pollen everywhere.
Oh,
I think everyone
struggling.
is sniffling and snuffling,
Yeah.
sneezing like crazy.
Yeah.
My kids have got it too. But good to see you. We got a good show today. We have Gary
do.
Fenton, Director
Exciting.
of Recreation and Parks for the City of Greenville. Gary, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
We appreciate
Got a
it.
lot of things going on. This is your busy time of year getting ready for the spring and the summer and having tons of events for everyone in Greenville to do. And so we'll get into a little bit of that and maybe talk about some of the new things coming up.
Very good.
But before we do it, Terry, we got to thank the sponsors.
Thank those sponsors.
So thank you, Greenville Toyota, for your support of the show since we started this. If you're looking for a new Toyota or Scion vehicle or a new used car, call Craig Ghost and the Greenville Toyota team, 321-3000. You can see them on the web at greenvilletoyota.com or across from Fresh Market on Memorial Drive in Greenville. Ribeye Steakhouse.
Oh, yeah, I went
We
there
love talking about
this
that.
weekend. I went there.
I'll go there once a week if I
Yeah.
can.
It's
But
good.
great salad bar, great steak. They're located at the corner of Arlington and Fire Tower, as well as the location in Williamston.
That's right.
Mention Greenville Grit, you get a surprise. So please support them. The Overton Group, real estate professionals serving all of Eastern North Carolina in commercial brokerage, real estate leasing and sales, property management, residential properties, and business brokerage. So that's for the sponsors. Again, thank you for the support since the beginning, and we're going to take our 2-minute commercial break. We'll get back with Gary Fenton and start talking about what's going on in recreation and parks. Welcome back to the Greenville Grit. They're showing me. They're supposed to show you.
No
Sorry
problem.
if you're on the radio, you didn't know what we're doing.
No
but,
problem.
Terry, why don't you take it? Let's start us over again. Go
yeah,
ahead.
really. Welcome back. We're very fortunate today to have Gary Fenton with us. So much is going on in recreation and parks, and I want to talk a little bit about that, and then we'll cover just a little bit about the bond issues that might cross over with transportation and recreation and parks. But let's start with maybe some of the festivities and things that are planned for the spring and summer.
Well, we as you note, spring and summer, we try to put those things together in a handy-dandy little
Yeah, that's
brochure
very nice.
that really targets those two seasons together. It is a busy time for us. It's never not a busy time, but it's really busy time kind of thing because we have a pretty intense summer and spring program planned, but you're actually planning one program while you're operating another. And so it gets really busy. And we are out there trying to provide something for everybody.
Right.
We don't always succeed at something for everybody, but we have quite a variety of types of programs and activities and events that we like to offer in the community. A couple of highlights, I think, for this summer. Of course, we have the Tournament of State Champions again down at Elm Street Park. I don't know if our community recognizes the significance
Wow,
of
it's
that. That
big.
is while it has a fine economic impact, it's not the biggest tournament in the world, but it's probably one of the highest quality Little League tournaments that you
Right.
can have. Because
And when is
each-
that taking place?
That's in July, toward the end of July, and there's actually 2 weeks of that program at different age groups. Last year we actually were offered 2 different age groups back to back. Brian Weingartz, who is this the kind of the CEO, if you will, of Little League and the guru. I think towards the end of the second week he was about to go over the edge, but it all went out so
Yeah.
well. And that's something we can be truly proud of because every participant in that program has already won at their state level. Well, to do that, you
Right.
go through many, many levels
That's
to get to
right.
that level. So it is truly the Tournament of State Champions. And in my career, I don't know that I've ever been associated throughout my career with a competition, a youth competition at that level. And so it's something that's good for our community.
That's
Well,
right.
baseball's just so big here.
It is. It's big even with the people that don't play.
Right.
And so you do see a lot of people that are served not by necessarily playing the sport, by being a spectator
That's
at the
right.
sport. And we draw a lot of people in from outside the community that hopefully will spend a few bucks while they're here.
That's right.
Leave some money here for us to benefit from. And that's one of the real aspects, one of the real advantages of that.
Yeah, I attended the Little League tryouts this year, and on one of the days, and it was packed for the tryouts. Concession stand was open. Everybody was just having a really good time, and the field was in excellent shape. It just looked
we
so
joke.
good.
Brian told me his home lawn is a mess.
Imagine he spends so much time on that.
That's
one.
right. He doesn't do anything at home. He does it
Yeah.
all on the field, and it's probably one of the highest quality fields.
Right.
And now that the Stallings family provided that money that'll enable us to turn it
Sure.
into a stadium, the quality of the turf and the quality of the facility itself are just top notch.
It is.
And you
It's
imagine
very
that,
proud of
Terry,
it.
and Gary may or may not want to chirp in on this, but we talked about when we got into the bond of doing the sports complex. And if you look at what that state championships will bring to Greenville, the number of people, the number of families,
Right.
their siblings that come,
Yeah.
you can only imagine if this was expanded times 10 in
Right.
terms of the number of size fields and people we can bring in, the economic impact that can
Be
provide to the
huge.
city of
It'd
Greenville.
be huge. So
I don't know.
I'm hoping that will still come one day.
We do too. I think you have to design something like that really with your current population in mind,
Right.
Because it will serve them on a regular basis.
Right.
On the weekends, on occasion, you're going to get a high quality tournament in here, and you can work hard to do that. Obviously,
That's
in
right.
conjunction with the Convention and Visitors Bureau. And that can be monumental.
Right.
I worked in one location where big city, where we had 31 fields in one location,
Wow.
softball fields, and we hosted a tournament with 500 teams.
Right.
It's 25,000
Oh my
room
gosh.
nights at local hotels.
That's so
Local
big.
hotels actually went out about 30 miles because they just kept
That's
coming,
right.
you know. And you can't.
But you want to talk about economic impact. I mean, that is absolutely
It's-
tremendous.
it's
It is.
tremendous.
It's
And
basically ECU football game weekends, many weekends.
It is.
for the city.
But what I'm saying is, I think that it's there for the quality of life in our community.
Absolutely.
And it's a double
It's a
whammy.
double,
And the
yeah.
second whammy has a lot of money associated
Exactly.
with it. So that's great.
right. Well, even at Rocky Mount, they talked about the overflow for hotel rooms. They're having to come to Greenville because when they have their activities going on, 32 weekends so far out of the year, they don't have enough rooms, so they come to Greenville. So
And
that's
we
a good
can-
sign for us for the future.
Yeah,
so
it is.
sure hope
It
so.
is.
Well, we're getting back then to the events you guys have got going on. Sorry, we kind of just got on the baseball hat, but
That's all
baseball
right.
is not all you have going on.
That's
No, there's
right.
other sports like golf and
Right.
tennis and such, and aquatics. We have a lot of different aquatics programs. And all of those have instructional programs associated with them that people
Right.
can sign up for, all age groups. But also there's the recreational aspects of those. Our aquatics program has the community pool, which opens May 30th, and so does our spray ground, our what we call Splash Point
Which
over
is
at Dream
awesome.
Park. We're getting demand for more of them.
I
and
know, I
understand
wish,
that.
yeah.
And I hope that day will come, certainly in different parts of our community. But both of those open May 30th. They won't be open just on the weekends until school is out. And then on June 15th, they'll open through August 14th, I believe. That spray ground is just so popular.
It really is.
And we've had, there were a lot of concerns about it initially, but none of them have come out. Very few problems associated with spray ground. And it is something less expensive to build
Right.
and much less expensive to operate than a regular pool. That isn't to say we shouldn't have a regular pool
Right.
for competition and for fitness and such.
Exactly.
But once in a while, kids just want to get wet and be with their friends.
It is
and
so
that
much
works
fun.
pretty well at the spray ground.
And I think people can there's shelters there, and you can have birthday parties and things like that.
You can, and you can do that obviously across the city. That's
Yeah.
a big piece of our services in terms of picnic shelters and family reunions
Right.
and corporate picnics and those kinds of things. So
People should utilize that because it's
and they
nice.
do.
Yeah.
They do. Sometimes, people call us and I need a picnic shelter this weekend. Well, you should have called, 3 months ago.
Right.
Once in a while, we'll have an opening someplace and
Yeah.
be able to help them in
Okay.
the last minute. So, the other thing I wanted to mention that I think is really kind of cool that's really starting to grow is foot golf.
Oh yeah.
Where we took at Bradford Creek Golf Course, we took the first 9 holes, which you can still play a regular round now, but we have 2 foot golf holes on each of those 9 holes. And that
Please explain that game because I'm trying to imagine foot golf in my head. but
it's like golf without a club and without a golf ball, but a soccer ball.
I
is
might could
your
actually
ball.
do that game.
Yeah.
And,
Is it
I
geared
can't
for
do golf.
kids or is it any
it's
age group?
Both. Both. It is really grown. It really started in Europe, but it has really, really grown. And anybody that plays, it's for some, it's a way to begin to play golf.
Right.
We can also use that first, we call it the short course. The holes on the foot golf course are not on the green; they're off to the side, and there's 2 on each hole. but we can play a short game of golf that way, especially with beginners, adults or kids, because the hole is the size of a soccer ball. And so you can bring kids out there, they can play
Wow.
a short game, and they have some success at the
Right.
beginning. You know, hopefully if they want to go to regular golf, they'll graduate to a much smaller hole someday. But in the meantime, as
You
they-
haven't seen me play.
you know, well, maybe you won't graduate, but some play foot golf, and most of them walk. They don't take the cart, so it's a good fitness exercise.
great.
If you haven't played soccer in a long time, haven't used that leg, you will be sore after
Yeah.
that first round. I guarantee it. I experienced that, so I know about that. But it's we encourage people to come out and give it a shot. It's only $10
Okay.
to play around. Now, if you want that card, it'll cost you a little bit more.
Right.
But most of them don't. They want to just walk the course, and so it's got all the aspects of golf. We still ask you to be courteous and
Right.
to each other, and it's you don't have a referee. You're honest about what you do. But I hope a lot of people will try that this summer.
That's neat.
We got a
That's
couple. We
neat
have 2 tournaments planned out there this summer, and I
Okay.
think when these groups bring
It's one of them in
spring-
May. I saw a flyer
Yeah.
somewhere
Yeah,
about
and there's
May.
72. I think they have 72 folks, 18 foursomes that will be
Okay.
participating. So that's going to give it some
That's very
exposure.
interesting.
And we've had $4,000 or $5,000 of revenue from it for the course so far already.
Fantastic.
That's
So-
great.
So it's neat. Of course, I mentioned the big tournaments that we're going to have, but we've got a lot of softball and smaller baseball tournaments and stuff planned throughout the
Right.
summer, all over the place, you know, and that's a blessing as well. When it comes to camps, we try once again to offer something at a reasonable price, but on a whole variety of areas, arts or focusing on sports or arts or nature. We also offer some camps for kids with disabilities.
Right.
Sometimes we incorporate those kids right into a regular camp by providing them a buddy that actually goes through the program with them.
Okay.
In other cases, there's a few camps that are specifically for kids and young people with disabilities, and they're kind of segregated in that kind of camp. Usually that's a camp where maybe the disability is a little more severe. That can be
Right.
where they have a little more attention, one-on-one
Okay.
attention through that process.
That's great.
Well, looking at the book that you have, it's the spring and summer 2015. Where can people get that book?
Well, they can actually just call our office, and we'll tell them all the different spots we have them around town. Now, they can go to any recreation and parks indoor facility, and they will be there.
And it can also be found on the website with details of everything
That's
that
right.
you're offering.
The electronic version is on the website. They're also at libraries.
Right.
Libraries in the city.
Okay.
But if they just want to say, where can I find the nearest, we can tell them the list of places in their neighborhood where they can pick one up, make it convenient.
Yeah, but it is also for people of all ages.
Absolutely. It's got the adults, got the seniors, got everybody in there.
Okay.
And that's the other diversity piece of our work, was we're trying to, from the 3-year-old to the
Right.
95-year-old.
That's right. Just real briefly, can you just give us an upgrade on what it goes on specifically at River Park North? Because I know there's fishing and you can have birthday parties there too, can you?
You can have birthday parties. We have a fellow named Chris Horgan out there who's Mr. Creative. I mean, to tell you, he's not afraid to look silly once in a while,
Right.
and he gets them going. And he has added so many programs out there. So obviously you can come out and kind of be your own tour guide. You
Right.
can use the trails. You can go fishing. You can go through the nature center. But he's also got a lot of programs out there that instruct people, instruct families. A lot of programs for families. They might come out and watch a meteor shower,
Right.
cook out on a fire, that kind of thing. But he's always got something going. And a lot of his programs are listed in the brochure as well.
That's
But,
great.
They even have, this is probably the 3rd year, they've had a program called Got Mud, where they make all kinds of things out of mud, but they also have a big mud pit.
Right.
And the kids get in
Oh,
and,
wow.
and just go wild. Once in a while, the parents will get in with them. The bolder ones will.
Yeah, not
And then
me.
there's a spray, they call it a rinsing station.
You
where
got to
they
have it
get
close
out.
to a spray park.
Yeah.
There's a rinsing station
Yeah.
nearby, and they get out and get rinsed off, but half the kids get
Well, that's
rinsed off
fun.
and
And
get
a
back
lot
in.
of people don't know everything that's out
I
there.
know this. What is the courses that people run through now where they're going through the mud?
Yeah, I
and-
know what you're
and-
talking about, like
what is the name of
I
that?
don't
It's like
know,
a 5K, but you
yeah.
go through all these obstacles and mud.
You
and
guys doing anything like that around here?
We've talked about it. We haven't gotten there yet, but
It
see
seems
it.
to be very popular.
Yeah.
yeah.
Don't they also do some things at night, like not a glow run exactly, but I heard something or saw something in the newspaper about some nighttime.
You know what? Every year they're coming out with something new associated with a
Well,
run.
he's got plenty
Right.
of time. I'm sure he can just add another 1 or 2 things.
The other, have you
I don't
seen the
know.
ones with the colored smoke and all that?
No.
And you end up red or pink or whenever
Oh,
you're done.
wow.
It's-
So there's a lot for people to check into. There's
Yeah.
so much to do.
So, all right. So, how many, I would say, different programs are you looking to run over the next we're from starting now really.
You know
running
what?
through
I
all
haven't
this.
counted them. I would guess there's 120, 150,
At
something
least.
like that.
And most of them are free to the public?
No,
or-
most of them, a lot of them have a fee, but again, it's usually a very reasonable fee.
Right.
We don't want to, get people, make that an obstacle.
Right.
And in fact, there are criteria for people getting a fee reduction or sometimes even a total fee waiver. They have to meet certain social
Right.
service criteria and be able to prove that. But if there's a problem, we'll work with them.
Now,
Well,
the
like,
county
this-
people pay the same
That's
thing
what I was getting
as,
ready to
as city?
say. A little
No,
bit
usually
different.
there's a higher fee. Now,
Right.
that's true not of everything, because sometimes some of our programs are done in conjunction with the county or with a county, a nonprofit in the county that we're partnering with. And those, they're going to be the same. The fee's going to be the same. But if we're doing it on our own, usually if there's a fee, it's 50% higher. So if it was 10, it would be 15 if you're
Right.
not a city resident. Interesting thing about that is a lot of people, because they have a Greenville address, think they're a city resident.
Oh, yeah.
And some who don't have a Greenville address, they have a Winterville address, but live in the city, don't even know they're a city resident.
we
Right,
saw that.
exactly.
It's a bit of a challenge, but we do not want to close the program
Right.
because they're not city residents. We just say, they're not paying that property tax at the level that they would if they
Right.
lived in the city. So that's the difference.
Okay, great. That's a lot of information. There's just no reason for anybody not to have anything to do
Well,
here.
what's the web address for people listening? They can go and find it on the internet.
You just go into the city's web, www.greenvillenc.gov, and then click on Recreation and Parks. It'll take you
Okay.
right
And
to
they
the
can
page.
sign up from there, or do they
Yes,
have to
they
call
can
and
sign up online.
Oh, that's
Mhm.
good. Okay.
I don't believe we have the ability to sign up for a picnic shelter, run a
Mm-hmm.
picnic shelter yet online. We will eventually. But as far as
Okay.
Can they
registering
pay
for our
online,
program,
or do
yes.
they have to? Okay.
They can pay online too.
All right.
That's
Well,
great.
that's something to look into. Well, one of the other discussions, Terry, that we had before we went on the air was talking about greenways.
Yes.
So why don't you go there?
Well, this past weekend, I was telling you before we got started here that the Greenway connection at Green Springs Park was just overloaded. It was just phenomenal. There must have been, I'd say 50. I didn't count them, but looking at the parking lot, walking across the street, and then looking down the Greenway at people coming and going, walking on bikes. It was really exciting to see how much they were using it. So maybe you could talk a little bit about where we are with the Greenways. I understand from an earlier conversation that there's maybe 2 greenways that are funded that we haven't started yet. Maybe you could tell about maybe what's going on with that,
And
then
where they're
just
gonna be.
where they're going to be
Right.
and how they will connect. And
Be glad to do that.
Okay.
When I came to Greenville in 2007, we had the Green Mill Run Greenway, which was just about from College Hill around Elm Street Park to Green Springs Park. That was the
Okay.
extent of our greenway. And we couldn't call it a greenway system because it was just one greenway.
right,
Since then, of course, we've been able to add the South Tar Greenway. And initially, the South Tar Green, the very first phase, went from Town Common to the dog park, east to the dog park from Town Common. It answered the question, why did you put the old Green Street Bridge down here over this ravine? And of course, it got called the Bridge to Nowhere for a long time. But it enabled us to take the Greenway right into Town Common or leave Town Common and get on the Greenway. It went to the dog park. A year later, we were able to connect that from the dog park to Green Springs Park. And that then made the Greenway itself, which was actually 2 pieces, the South Tar
Right.
Greenway and Green Mill Run, go from Town Common all the way to College Hill in a big circle, about 4 or 5 miles, something like
Right.
that. But that's not the end.
Right.
Fortunately, that's not the end. And when we added that piece and those 2 joined, I think an awful lot of people got very excited about our Greenway system here in Greenville. And it's very pretty. Of course, it runs
Right.
along the river. It's the prettiest piece of our Greenway system right now. But with the extensions, which will go from both ends, in other words, first extension will go from the College Hill area all the way over to Evans Park, across the street from Rose High School.
okay,
And then the other piece, which will come next, which we think will be done by the summer of 2016, will go from Town Common west all the way, mostly along the river till it crosses under the Memorial Bridge, and sometimes after that it'll go south towards the Moy and Fifth Avenue or Fifth Street connection, right in that area in front of the Veterans Clinic. It'll
Okay.
end there. We do hope maybe the hospital or some
Wow.
folks might connect to it then to give some of their patients or some of their the folks that are waiting for patients an opportunity to get out on the Greenway. Just got to wait
Right.
for a little while. But the concept now is exciting because we're starting to look at a greenway system now. I'm really excited about this from a standpoint of it'll connect east and west campuses. And, there are a lot of students that have classes in both. And
Right.
hopefully a lot of them will be able to leave the car wherever it is, if they have a car, use their bicycle to get to the other campus. Maybe they're using their bicycle today, but maybe they're fearful of that.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
It'll be a much safer way of doing that, and I think we'll see a lot of that back and forth, maybe several times a day.
And
So-
Terry, I believe you just said those two.
Those two are funded.
Those
We're
are
just
funded.
waiting for it to be done.
Those are funded.
Okay,
They both had
great.
80% federal funding behind them,
Okay.
and so our local
Was it
share-
80% federal? Was it 10% state, 10% local, or was it 20% local?
I'm
I'd heard
not
it was
sure
maybe
that.
10%
No,
local.
Those
State.
are older. I believe they might have been 10%
Because I don't
state.
think federal is not paying those monies anymore.
There's a new program
Yeah.
now, and these came out of what's called Safety Lou, which is that's a lot of letters. Safe, equitable. I forget all the
Right,
details.
yeah.
But that was a 2005 program that ended, I think, in 2012.
Okay.
But this application was in long before that.
Right,
So
right.
so it was funded through that.
When do you expect to start on those, and when? I think you said one will be done in 2016.
Both of them will be done in 2016. I checked on those projected dates, and of course, you can run into all kinds of easement problems and
Yeah.
such. So we always are very cautious about saying
Sure.
exactly this is what we're hoping for. But we
right.
keep at it; it eventually gets done. I think the South Tar Greenway will be starting now. It's starting now. I don't mean the South Tar. I mean the Greenville Run Greenway.
Okay.
The southernmost of the two, and it's anticipated to be finished in early 2016.
Okay.
And the other one.
So for next spring and summer.
Yeah, the other one has an August 2016 completion
great.
projection.
Yeah, that's right. It all depends on the weather.
It does, and as sometimes I always said, if the Lord,
The way this weather's been.
if there's a reason the Lord doesn't tell us when projects will be finished, because we would never start them if He did.
Yeah.
And I think of that with the Drew Steel Center.
Yeah.
We worked for years.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
Kept getting that. We didn't get a grant. We didn't get a grant the next year, and the third year,
Right.
we got a grant. Everybody said it's a good thing because we would have given up after that point,
know,
you know.
I know.
But
Well,
you stick with it,
important
it
though.
comes out. you
That's
know.
right.
Terry, I think it's a good time to take our
Sure.
second commercial break. We'll
Okay.
come back and maybe we can talk a little bit about one of the big projects that everyone is excited to see is the South Greenville Gym.
Right.
Maybe you can give us an update on that,
Update
and
on
maybe
that.
some of the changes. So
Yes.
we'll be back in 2 minutes, and we'll finish our discussion with Gary Fenton. Welcome back to the Greenville Grit. I am Michael Overton and my co-host here, Terry Williams, and Gary Fenton, Director of Recreation and Parks for the City of Greenville. I had to look at this because every time I say it, I get it backwards. But
I've made the mistake myself, so don't worry about it.
Terry's like, that's the TV show.
I know, really, that I don't
Anyway,
watch.
Gary, thank you for coming on and spending time. A couple things. We've got about 3 minutes left. Let's talk briefly about the South Greenville Gym. I know it's one of the most heavily used facilities in the city. Had no air conditioning.
Right.
Fairly old, antiquated, and it's also shared with the county through the school system.
That's correct.
So tell us about that and where we're at with
Well,
that.
it's located on House Street in proximity to the school system, to the South Greenville Elementary School. So it makes sense that these two publicly supported agencies can share something.
Right.
We don't have a high use of that gymnasium in the daytime during the school year, so that obviously we can bring those kids in and allow them to use it because they don't have a gym in the school. But we've been talking for a long time about the needs there. I mean, it's been around for 50 years or more, and it certainly has been showing its age for the last 10 or 15.
Right.
It's not accessible. It's not ADA accessible. It needs to be. It should be. That's the law, and it's the right thing to do anyway. But we finally found a way to get things moving forward. Council identified some money for us to use. School system is chiming in with $600,000
Right.
toward this project, which again makes
great.
sense. It's a partnership. But we're going to see something that's old and dilapidated and unair conditioned and just not very nice,
Right.
but very popular, that's going to look state of the art.
Right.
And we're very excited about that. The improvements will not only take place inside, there'll be some on the grounds as
Right.
well, including a trail through the woods. And I think it's going to have a high impact on that particular neighborhood.
When will those renovations start?
Well, right now, we're in the midst of the planning for those renovations. They'll start late this year, we think. Again, it's a guess. But we don't want, the center will be closed during that time.
Right.
And that's a negative, of course. But by not doing that, if we don't do that, it'll take a lot longer to get this
Right.
job done. And it's much more expensive doing it that way as well. So next year, probably in the midst of 2016 sometimes, we'll see the opening. And we'll make a big deal out of that when that day comes.
Okay.
Very
Sounds
quickly, you
great.
wanted to hit one other thing.
Well, let's talk about Sunday in the Park real quick.
42nd year of Sunday in the Park.
Wow.
We've got 12 concerts planned. They start May 31st, and they go right through August 16th.
Okay.
We've got some of the old bands from before. The Monitors are all standby, been in every one so far. We've got new groups like the Pizzazz Band, Built for Comfort Band. Spare Change is coming back. They're a very popular group. Matt Phillips and the Philharmonic will be here. Emily Miner will be here. Of course, the
That's wonderful.
Pitt Community College
And what
Symphony
time of day does it start?
starts at 7 o'clock every week. It's free to the public, lasts about an hour to an hour and a half. And we hope people come out, bring their blankets, bring their chairs, and enjoy.
Right.
And even if it's hot,
And it's
you
every
get down to the river.
Sunday starting again May what?
May 31st.
31st.
Even if
Awesome.
it's hot, come down to the river. It's normally 10 degrees cooler.
Cooler. And they can
Right.
find all that information in that same book.
In that same book or
Great. Or on
online
the
at-
website.
At our website, yes.
Okay.
That's
Well, Gary,
great.
again,
Awesome.
thank you for your time. Great
Really
updates.
appreciate
And
it.
check out the Greenville City website. Again, thank the sponsors, Ribeye Steakhouse, Greenville Toyota, and the Overton Group. You can see us on the web on YouTube. Type up Greenville Grit. Catch us again on Friday night at 6:30 or Saturday morning 9:30 on Cable 7. And until then, we will see you next week.